Why is there a pen in your mouth when we're going live?
Good point. Just because I feel like we got a therapist on today, so I'm acting like a therapist. Lie down on the sofa, Bambos. Tell me how you're feeling right now. You need that, I believe. Today,
Marianna Kocsany.
Marianna Kocsany. Is that a correct pronunciation? We're going to see if she nods in the background. Nope, striked out. We're going to talk to her about 6 years working at karaoke bars around the world. And where are we going to do that on, Bambos? Dimitri, Charles?
Andy Shalef, we're going to do it on a wonderful chaos.
Yes, we are.
I will never ever get bored of this tune.
Me neither, except we have to discuss what we were discussing before we came on, and it's a very important discussion as far as I'm concerned. It's a discussion.
Look at my face, like my body cringes.
I don't want your
end of discussion.
You are bad mouthing the Foo Fighters, and that is just unacceptable. You can say
I'm not bad mouthing.
You're saying why are you listening to that shit?
Physically, my body is cringing.
And all I'm telling you,
you're making it the all-time.
They got the rock anthem down. Like they know how to pump you up. If I'm exhausted and I need that little bit extra energy, I turn on the Foo Fighters and it gets me through the hour drive or something like that.
So what you're telling me, it's grandpa music.
Why? Why would it grandpa music? Any music that takes you up to a place where we belong. I'll sing you some songs from the 70s if you like, if that makes you feel better. So that's our struggle with one another, is who's going to accept whose music.
Actually, you're on your own in this one. I just love poking you.
That's good. Marianna, we've had Marianna. We're not going to say her last name because we don't want to mess it up over and over again. Kocsany.
Koskavich.
No, isn't a Vich in there. Marianna is
from Hungary.
She's from Hungary. She's been on this show in different shapes and forms, but we never had her on as an interviewee.
Yeah.
As a guest.
She's even had my seat.
She's been on she's been on one of the shows. Unfortunately, you weren't there, which was one of the most special to me, was with Serene Rowley. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful
that
episode.
Was the show that she was on our show, and she died a week later.
Yeah.
And she was so angelic and beautiful, being in her full strength, even knowing that she only had a week to live. That show just blows me away each time I listen to it.
If you guys haven't watched that, it like that show made me cry several times.
Yeah, that's an early show.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I'd certainly suggest. But she's been on the sofa. We did a show, right, like when we were beginning, because when we began, we had the iPad, and we shoved the iPad in the helmet, in the moped helmet, and that's how we brought guests on. And when we were doing that, Marianna came in once, and we had her as in place of the helmet
sitting in the middle.
Yeah, when we go back to those old shows, we're certainly going to wonder what we were thinking, but
it was really unprofessional.
It was so much fun. I think people must have looked at us, thought we were just idiots. Not that they still don't do that. But Marianna, a few weeks back, when I go through this moment when I start to muddle through the muck of shows, because I like to book 3 months in advance, which is kind of absurd. We're already booked for 3 months, and I always want to hear things that really get me excited and interested. And the things that get me excited and interested are random things. So people would think, oh, it's going to be science. It's going to be about the environment or about whatever. But I get excited by really mundane things, as you might know.
Yeah. And finding the beauty in that also.
Yeah, and finding the beauty in it. And I think people watching the show must wonder to themselves, how the hell do we come up with these topics?
I can answer that question. Andy used to be Satan's little helper in marketing.
Yes. That's for sure.
He used to sell shit to people they didn't need.
Yes. Suits. 16 years old, I was selling suits to people.
And he got so good at that, his boss told him he can sell shoes to people with no legs.
No, that's not true. I was colorblind. I still am. And I would match the wrong color to the wrong suit because I could never tell what was going on.
Are you colorblind?
I'm red-green. I have a color deficiency, they call it. And how I learned it, you know how I learned it was that I was matching the tie to a suit. And I put the tie up against this guy. I said, "This is the perfect tie. Can't you see these colors?" And he says, "Those colors don't match." And I think a week later, I figured out that I was colorblind or deficient. So yes,
Okay.
if it's a green or a red, they kind of they get a little bit fuzzy for me.
Shall we introduce Marianna?
We should. So Marianna shares with me that she has been doing the karaoke gig for 6 years in different countries, and my jaw kind of drops.
Hungary, Japan, Amstelveen, which is part of Amsterdam.
Yes. And when she says that to me, I start to I have to admit I've got prejudices towards this because I lived in Japan. They were shipped. So I also like to deal with my own baggage on the show. So I'm thinking I want to ask and be honest about all my prejudices around this and hear from her what it's really like and hear the gritty stories. So that's kind of what led me to bring her on, was to get the underground scoop on what this industry is all about.
Nice.
And and this is to be added, not that this is her job. She left this quite a few years ago, but she is a certified therapist, which she doesn't talk about, but she helps people in relationships.
Couples.
So, a couples therapist that's certified.
And she's actually pretty good at it.
Yes, unlike me, who's uncertified and should be certified for an insane asylum.
Can I segue?
Please go.
I had an idea for your new book.
That was that.
Listening to your Wounded Healer book for the 15th time.
Yeah.
I got curious as a follow-up to all the stories that you wrote in that, the woman that wanted to be a yoga teacher, and you helped her, you supported her in finding peace.
Yeah.
I'm like, it would be so cool if you just interviewed everyone and wrote a third book
around that.
How did that moment in time support them or not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've already talked to a lot of them about it, and I got into some trouble that I don't even want to discuss on air, but yes, that also happened. So in some ways, I'm kind of happy to put that book behind me because emotionally it's still got some scars connected to it. But I think that happens with anything.
I think not everyone was happy being in the book.
Well, yeah. I think in some cases I thought I was doing people a favor by sharing how much I love them in the book and putting their names in and asking them what I thought to, and that didn't work out well. So that's hurt me for a few months, I have to admit. Wasn't what I intended, but that's life. Sometimes you make mistakes. I say we bring her on because now we've been discussing quite a bit, and yeah, I think we'll learn more from her as we have her on.
Marianna, what's your last name?
Hey.
Hello.
Tell us your last name.
Yeah, what's your last name, please?
My last name is Kocsany.
Oh, we know this. We've made jokes about it all the time.
Because
it was like money. Kocsany, Kocsany. That was what we said last time.
Yeah.
I'm just...
Yeah. Now that way you can remember, maybe.
You know how I met this woman?
No, tell me, how did you?
I went with my ex-girlfriend and we did a singing class with her.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he did he come on to you like he does all the other women or not?
She made me walk around the room singing.
She had to think about it though.
He was with his girlfriend, so he was just trying to show her that he's totally in his comfort zone, that this doesn't really matter that he has to sing. And actually he did the challenge very well.
She made me walk around the room, and I don't know what the song was, but I had to sing this song very loudly.
What a Wonderful World, maybe, or something like that.
Something like that. Something crazy.
I've gained a new respect for you, Bambos.
Thank you, Andy.
You went for it. You went fully for a sing in front of others. Wow.
Yeah. In the end, I said that if you want, anyone can just sing it by themselves. And Bambos was the first one who said, "Fuck it, I will do it." Right?
I don't think I think you forced me.
No, I don't think so, Bambos.
I think you would regret it if you asked me to do that. If she asked me to sing, you would really regret it. You'd say, "Andy, all my friends say thank you for that effort. Now we'll continue with what else we were doing before that."
Now you know. Maybe one day.
Now you know I've got deep prejudices towards.
Yes.
I have deep, deep prejudices from many years back. It's been soured into me. And I think it came because I lived in Japan for those years. And when I lived in Japan, there was always this really weird like line with the hostesses. And I think from that experience, then I just got this.
Can you clarify?
I'd like to, but some of the people may be watching. So I can go into some things, but I can't be too specific. I had a dear friend whose husband went to the karaoke and the hostess bars. And then he got into a relationship with one of the hostesses, which was kind of expected. It's understood that kind of happened there. This is a village in this place I lived. And then that woman came to the place that they worked and asked for a job because the husband said that he could get her work. So you could imagine the triangle of confusion that was created from this.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a typical story.
So
it's a typical story.
So our first question.
I will tell you later.
So our first question: did you get yourself into trouble?
Yes. Did you get yourself into trouble? No, I'd rather ask how many times did you get yourself into trouble? We're going for the assumption that there's a few.
I've been several times like thinking, okay, so that this is the borderline of that. If I just go one step more further into, then it's gonna be a trouble.
Wow.
And I don't think I don't know. I saw a lot of trouble around me, and I don't know what should I call trouble, and like how to I define it. But for sure, it was a lot of.
Did his wife find out? Is more the trouble?
No, I didn't personally have any of these kind of things. I didn't have a relationship with any of my any of the clients or customers who came to the karaoke, but this happened sometimes. But so
but do they
where should it start?
Okay, well, first of all, I want a quiet poll, right? Anyone watching can answer. You and I answer. Of the 3 countries you worked in, Hungary, Japan, and Amstelveen, and you don't answer immediately, which one caused the most trouble? In which give us a moment. Everyone's got to come to just take some time to think about it. Bambos, do you have your answer ready? I've already got my answer ready.
I've got an answer ready.
And let me just see. Do you have your answer ready yet or no?
In my life or in other people's lives?
No.
Out of the 3 countries.
While you were there, which one do you say there was the most trouble there?
But I think Japan was the most troublesome.
The most trouble. So I had Japan. What did you have, Bambos?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had it as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like let's say I started in the whole thing in Hungary, and this was a hostess job. So it was also advertised as a hostess job. So I went there to the interview. It was 8 o'clock in the evening. So that was weird. Like,
okay, well, slow us down a little bit for a moment.
Yeah.
When you look you look in the newspaper, and what does the newspaper ad say? Like, what does it say?
Like hostesses we are looking for hostesses, good-looking, smart people or girls who can who are sophisticated and something like that for events. Oh yeah,
for events. Okay.
For events. Yeah. Okay. And then I went there. Now this was not that. This was a club. It was a very fancy, very very beautifully laid out club or bar in Hungary, but it was like completely hidden, so you would never see it. If you just walk around, you don't see it. Nobody knows that it's there. Only the people, like only the Japanese community knows about it. So as a Hungarian, you would never even walk in because there is just this one black door. And then you have to open the door, and then there is one more door. So it's like super hidden secret. So
this is what I'm thinking. The image you're portraying is exactly what I have in my mind. Okay.
So yeah, so I went there. I had an interview with a very smart, beautiful-looking elderly woman, and she's telling me, you have to speak English very well, and and all those kind of things, and like telling me all the requirements, and also what about my lifestyle and all those kind of things. If I like singing, because it's a karaoke bar, so sometimes people like singing here, and if I'm okay with that too. So this kind of and my first vision was like, oh my God, what is this place? Where
Yeah.
am I? What am I getting into? And then I talked to this very sophisticated, beautiful woman, and I feel super safe. So then I'm like, okay, that's okay. And I was like, okay, I cannot lose much. I just have to try. How does this look like? So
Okay.
so this is how it started. And the
And
thing
in that
is that
interview, just to stay with that interview for 1 minute, was there
yeah.
anything that she gave to say you'll have to deal with difficult men, or there's going to be men groping you and you have to be prepared for that? Did she give you any sort of like fear mongering of
Mm.
what could happen?
She told me about it that this bar is like, she told me that of course there are men and that most of the customers are men.
Uh-huh.
And but she really clarified it that there is no touching, it's not allowed.
Okay.
Nothing sexual is allowed. We are not allowed to meet with the customers outside of the club
Uh-huh.
and all those kind of things. So she was really like saying that these are very strict rules. And actually, that's the thing, that in Hungary, that was true. So in Hungary, and that's why I say that it
Mm.
caused less problem. That in that sense, that there were like clear rules that we should. Yeah, it was not allowed to meet with people. It was
Mm,
not allowed to have a relationship with the customers
got it.
and all those kind of things. And also the customers had to behave nicely with the other hostesses. They were not allowed to touch us or to
Mm,
do any kind of like bad manner or anything.
hmm.
So that was really good. But in Japan, when I went there, I didn't know about it. But in Japan, there were no rules like this.
Oh no.
So so there was this woman called Mama-san. Mama-san is the
Yeah.
owner of the place usually. And she was
She
not
sounds
only
very
not,
badass.
she was a badass woman for sure. She was like, she was telling all the girls, hey, you don't wait, you don't have enough makeup on your face. How do you look like? How do you look like? Look at her, look at her. She's much better. Look at her. Like she was like very straightforward and
Oh.
crazy.
Mm.
Now she was not only not like there was no rule about that if we should or can meet with the customers, but also she was kind of pushing us like, you should
Oh.
go and have a dinner after you finish work. You should go and have a dinner with, or dinner, well, that was 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, you should go on and have some food with this client.
Marianna,
Yeah.
Marianna, were you singing at this time in your life? Were you a singer?
Yeah.
Oh no, when I started, not
Yeah.
yet. So
Mm.
So
that's
this was
how I
your
started.
okay,
Yeah, this is how I
clear.
started to sing, actually.
Wow.
So this was a blessing in a sense that I was not aware that I can sing or I could be a singer, but when I started to work in the karaoke in
She's really
Hungary,
good, huh?
Yeah, she's exceptional.
thank you. Yeah, so that's where the clients, the customers start to say
Mm,
like, "Oh my God, you have such an amazing voice. You should." But they said it to everyone, of course.
yeah.
But I somehow took it seriously, and I thought, maybe I should take lessons and
Mm.
do
That,
something with it, and
that
that's how it started.
that was one thing, just to sort of side, we've had a few shows discussing Japan and that, because I lived there a few years and I really am fond of it. And one of the qualities that I really found incredible in Japan, really incredible, unlike anywhere, is the encouragement to just go out and do things like karaoke, or in my case, the saxophone. So you'd play and you would be horrible, but everybody would support you. They would cheer you on. And I'd never been in a cult. Like if someone was singing really bad and then someone at a table made a snide remark, that's unheard of in Japan. You would never make
Yeah.
fun of somebody for anything. Like that, they're trying and they're doing their best. And that quality is something that I sorely miss in other cultures.
Can you
Yeah.
share the
Yeah.
story of you in Austria where your neighbor said,
No, that was in Austria. That
"Oh,
was in the US. Yeah, the
oh,
exact opposite. I'm learning how to play the saxophone and I suck. And the woman next door doesn't realize that I'm learning. She thinks that I'm a music major because roommate's a music major and we're friends. So the assumption is, oh, they must be. So I got on the bus. She sees the saxophone and she said, "Did you hear the horrible saxophone player in the neighborhood?" And I know she's talking about me, but I don't say it. So I just said, "No, what does he do?" And then she describes everything I do. He plays the chords. He doesn't know how. And he plays Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Could you kill a song more? I can never listen to that song again. He's so bad.
Oh my
So
God,
she goes
that's
off
terrible.
and off. And I keep asking more questions because I'm having so much fun. And then when we get off the bus, I say, I got to be honest with you. The person you're describing that whole time is me. And like
Oh my God.
she didn't laugh. She didn't have any fun. So I couldn't visit their house anymore because she was so angry that I
Embarrassed.
let it go that far.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
but the quality was that if I didn't allow myself to suck, I would never have learned, and I had to enjoy that process. And I think that's part of life is just
So
accepting it.
what you're telling us now is that you've learned and you can play the saxophone.
I mean, I've got a saxophone downstairs. I'll try to play Somewhere Over the Rainbow for you, but you'll cry. Not for the right reasons.
The next show is gonna be.
But
Yeah,
the point
but that's
being
very
is
true.
the point being is that's a quality as you described it back. I found that to be one of the most beautiful qualities that
Yeah.
in that culture. Yeah.
So
That's true. The Japanese are very, very supportive in that sense, and they
Yeah.
would never say like something is wrong or something like you suck. That you
No,
wouldn't. They would
never.
never show any slightest feedback
Never.
like that. And
Yeah.
there was even in our job description that we had to clap all the time. So
Yeah.
within the song, but also when the song ends, not just the song ends, but when the chorus is ending. So then when there is an instrumental in between, we have to cheer. So it
Yeah.
was very funny because it was embedded in my blood for so long that whenever I went out and had some music somewhere, I was clapping also in between when there was an instrumental.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Marianna,
All of the girls were like that. Like we were just wired to do this all the time.
automatic.
Yeah.
What are
I'm
you
never
say?
going to trust you again. Marianna,
Mhm.
like I'm getting this this thing, like you were in Hungary, you kind of joined this club, which actually I sometimes hear stories that there's clubs which actually kidnap women and put them into sex slaves, right?
Yeah.
Human slavery. And it's somehow it just feels that you just took a risk, you trusted, and all of a sudden you're in Japan, you trusted, and then you came to Holland, and it feels like you really left a life. So like I want to kind of go a little bit back. What was your life before this?
Well, I think in Budapest, when I moved to Budapest, I just really wanted to discover the city and just start my independent life. And that's the thing that I think motivated me to do this, because I was working as a hostess, but you know, the supermarket hostesses who just give tasting for people, and like I didn't earn much with it, but I really for some reason, like being financially independent from my parents, from my family, was very important for me. And I think it's because I just really felt like that that means that I'm also fully responsible. So they cannot really tell me what I should do or what I shouldn't do. And I felt that I want to have that responsibility for myself. So when I saw this opportunity, basically it's funny because I came across with it first in an indirect way, because there were several bars, like several karaoke bars like this. There was another one, and some, not friend of mine, but someone in the college that I used to sleep at, she was saying like, hey, like I work there, and she was telling me the job description, like there are these, that was a Korean one, that was a Korean bar. And she said, well, I just have to be pretty and I just have to talk to them. There's nothing else happening, and I get always this and this amount of money, and da, da, da. So she was explaining me the job description, and I was like, you know, maybe just for a year, I wouldn't mind to do such a job, because then I can earn a lot of money and I feel very, you know, independent and there is no sex involved, so that's okay, right? So
Yeah.
that was like a, and then I didn't find that job. I didn't know where she was working, and I not, but then totally randomly I bumped into this other one, which was actually a much better or higher class of place. Actually, later on I figured it out, and somehow because I had this girl who told me about it, and she was feeling very safe, and she didn't say that anything bad happened there to her. That gave me a little bit of like a security or
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can imagine. Actually, it's true that looking back, I was very courageous to do that. I didn't feel like I'm running away from something, but I was definitely wanting. I really wanted this independent feeling, and that was motivating me a lot. And I thought it's gonna be just a short term thing. So
Yeah. Did you tell your parents you were going to do this?
yeah.
And did they have
Yeah.
any anxiety or reservations about this? Did they say, did they have any thoughts on it?
Of course, they really wanted to know if it's true that there is no sexual things involved and if it's safe. And but somehow I don't know, they trusted me always so much that if I said something like, "I think this is a very safe place, trust me," then somehow they always trusted me.
That's beautiful.
So that's really, really important for me indeed that they could do that.
So
Yeah.
because I on our journey together, I also feel that I have that feeling with you too. I trust you, and we know each other now for 3 years. Wow.
Yeah,
Years.
at least.
And I
Yeah.
didn't know this about you, so I'm sitting here completely like blown away.
Is there any?
I was with the. Yeah.
Sorry, is there any time you didn't discuss that you had this past behind you because you had any feelings like maybe I'll be judged for it?
Difficult. I don't think so. I mean, maybe with some type of people, maybe with some people, I didn't feel really okay to talk about it. But I remember even on the university, I had some girls and friends there who I was, yeah, they asked me what do I do, and then I told them about this job, and actually many of them, two other psychologists, came to do the same job,
Yeah.
because they liked the idea. And of course, I think most hostesses who work there always imagine this as just like doing it for a year or maximum two.
Yeah.
They never thought about it as a long-term thing, but because of the salary was really high and the job was very easy to do, that's true. So it was a lot of times it's just full entertainment, clapping, drinking alcohol. So this is like.
But I mean, did you actually drink alcohol with the clients there?
Yeah, yeah.
They
And
could-
we
they
were
could buy
sitting
you
at the same
drinks.
table.
They could buy you drinks.
Well, so the system is different in Japan and is different. It was different in Hungary. And in Hungary, it was a very interesting system where there was a hourly based system. So the customers paid per hour, and they could drink as much as they wanted, and the hostesses could drink as much as they wanted. But of course, it was expensive. So that was one thing. And I think what is important to mention, because otherwise it's not understandable why there is a shame, or why can it be shameful, or why there is maybe judgment, is because the customers also could choose which hostess they want to spend time with. So there was a screen where we had our photos on, and they could choose like, oh, I wanna sit tonight with Marianna, or I wanna sit tonight with someone else, you know. And there was a list. So there was a competition going on, or some kind of competition going on between the girls. Well, I think some girls were more competitive than the others, but there was a list of who's the number one hostess, who's requested more, and the customers had to pay more if they requested someone. So the money that they paid for the request, it's called request.
Yeah.
That was my salary. That was So the more I was requested or asked by the customer, the more money I earned, basically.
Wow, this is fascinating. This is like a what do you call it? You'd almost want to film this for a reality TV show, because you're telling me all of the women are now competing to say, how can I get the people most interested in me? And by getting repeat business over and over again, you're bumped up on this thing.
So the question is, what did you do
Yeah,
to get yourself?
given that you can't touch them and you can't have sex with them. So those are the two
Exactly.
criteria. So what does a
Yeah.
woman do to get on the top of that list?
What did you
Yeah,
do?
that's a very good question. Well, I think the number one thing I did from the day one, I was observing those girls who were number ones, number two. Like I was
Yeah.
just looking at that what happens in the dynamic, what do those women do that make them like make the customers want their presence, basically.
Mm.
And of course, there were so many differences about this. Like
Mm-hmm.
from the moment on that, yes, there were customers obviously who fell in love with the girl, just like, so they came almost every night or every second night just to be able to sit with that girl and for 3 hours or four, drinking nothing, just wanting to be in the presence of that girl. So that was also one reason of
Wow.
why. But that's one of the
That sounds
reasons. And
like
there
it
was,
could get ugly as well. Like that could turn into something really nasty, I could imagine.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was sometimes because you can imagine that some customers, and it was happening also with me. Like I cannot really say to them that, hey, like this is nothing, like nothing is between us, but I also don't want to say like I don't say, yeah, I love you too or something like that. So I'm just, there is this kind of weird dynamic where I'm kind of like not really saying anything, so I'm just like
Mm.
avoiding to
Mm.
actually give him a yes or no answer if this is it.
Yeah.
But that creates this kind of fantasy world where they can feel that this is a relationship. So what your friend did, I don't know how it was for him, but for many customers who I met in Japan or in Hungary, or I saw with them with other girls, for them this was a relationship. For me,
Mm.
it was work, you know,
Yeah.
or for the hostess, it
A
was
working
work.
relationship. Wow,
Yeah,
that
That sounds brutal.
that
It
is really
sounds
incredible.
brutal.
yeah.
Tell me, what was the worst situation you encountered in this area? Like, what was the worst? Like, Andy, this was bad.
Go, Andy.
Hmm.
I see a damn Fatal Attraction movie ahead of me. Like I see an infatuated man showing up at the doorstep when you leave, like kind of stalking you. Like that's where I see this going. So that's what I'm kind of trying to sense. How far did it go when you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Uh, well, there was for me one client who, like one customer, I wouldn't call it client, customer who was really started to feel like this is a deep connection. And I think we were like we had a very good connection in terms of like we could talk about a lot of interesting things.
mm-hmm,
But somehow that went too deep for him, and he really yeah, so with him it was a little bit sometimes threatening. I felt sometimes that maybe he knows where I live, because once I, so that's the thing, that's also something that I did maybe wrong, because with him I felt like, oh well, let's meet him outside of the rules, like just for a dinner.
yeah,
And I did, because in that way I felt like he would also trust me more, that this is not just, not just the karaoke world. And that was really a big mislead from my side, because then he really felt that, oh, maybe he has a chance.
mm,
Marianna, how old were you here?
I think I was 22, 21,
yeah,
So
21.
I'm going to make an assumption that
Mm.
you going out for dinner with him outside of the rules was also a part of you in those times that you needed something from him, but it wasn't made explicit, like some kind of validation
Oh
or
yeah, this whole job was about validation.
Mm.
So just as it was, how can I say, it was a very addictive field for most of the client of the customers. They went into this fantasy world where they could sing a song and they are the artist, or you know what I mean, that already the karaoke is a fantasy world. And on this fantasy world where they are singing, they can also feel like they have this beautiful woman next to them, and that's their girlfriend, right? Or
Ah.
some of, you know, so there was this. And then for the girls side, we all felt like, oh, I'm so wanted. I'm here, I am number one hostess or number two, and oh, how many guys just want to be with me? And you know, like that was there. I cannot say that was not there, because it
so
was.
how hard, so how high did you manage to rate?
At one period I was number one, but also sometimes it's number three, number four. Depends on the period. Towards the end, I didn't care at all anymore where I was. I really didn't mind anymore. There was no competition in me in the end.
Mm.
But
And
yeah, so
during this time, Mariana, were you ever in a relationship, and how did
Mm.
this journey impact your relationship?
good
Great
question.
question.
Thank you.
Great question. Jesus.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm
Well,
learning from the best.
most of the time. Yeah, most of the time I wasn't in a relationship, because just as it is damaging for the customers to be
Mm.
there all the time and to feel addicted to it,
Mm.
and it creates this kind of wonderland. It is also damaging, or it was damaging for me at least, because I felt like, oh, of course, the Japanese guys all want to, you know, talk to me, or they may fall in love with me, or feel attraction towards me. But normal guys would never do that. So when I was so in the club, let's say, I felt like I am the princess.
Yeah.
But when I was outside of the club, whenever I felt attraction towards a man, I always felt like, oh, but this guy would probably never look at me, you
Mm.
know? So it was damaging for my self-esteem. I didn't notice it. It just creeped in
Mm.
little by little, that even though like it felt like that it's good for my self-esteem, actually it was the opposite.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see every Japanese guy on the street and go, I must be hot in his eyes.
Yeah, so all of a sudden it created this very black and white
Wow.
picture that yeah.
Did any of your clients offer you money for sex or for
Yeah, so
anything?
this guy specifically, the one that really
Mm.
fell for me, at one point he just gave me an offer. And that was the line that I was just mentioning before, that it was a lot of money.
Can we
And
ask
I
how
knew that.
much?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it, that how much is it in euro? Like,
He's trying
let
to
me
make you
think.
blush,
No,
Mariana.
I really want to know this number.
No, I think
Give me a
it was like
ballpark.
8,000 euro or something.
8,000 euros.
You turned down 8,000
Yeah,
euros
8,000 euros.
yeah, something like
for a
that.
22-year-old. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, this is really like toxic masculine, toxic feminine.
8,000. I'm still stuck on the
It
number.
is.
8,000. Is there a number you might have said yes to? If he
I
said
don't know.
50, if he said, I'll give you 50 grand, would you have considered?
I have no idea. This is the thing that I really don't know, to be
Yeah.
honest, because
So
even this
I'm
number, I have to be really honest, like
Yeah.
even this number made me feel like, okay, well, I just close my eyes, I just pretend nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
But then I felt like, no, 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 because if I once do it, then and get this money, then how will I never do it again?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
You know,
slippery
I was
slope.
Yeah,
thinking
one.
this is like one step, I do it, then this is no way back
So
Yeah.
because it's
you were
easy
not completely
money.
naive, right?
Yeah, no.
Like
No, so I turned it off, of course, but
You had your wits
it's
about you.
but
yeah, it was
like when you're working in a place like this, yeah,
Mm.
and you're getting all these men. Of course, some men are good looking, but the fact that you didn't cross the line with any of them, I'm assuming that's true. Are you conscious now, if you self-reflect, what you were saying no to subconsciously?
oh, this is a difficult question. I think I knew what I'm doing, and I think I knew that but I didn't get these offers from everyone. That's also number one thing, but also um,
I'm not talking
like
about an offer here, Marianne. I'm talking about
He's saying you were working there. You must have been attracted. You worked 6 years there, meeting men
yeah.
regularly. There must have been some men you're like, I really find this person attractive, and the conversation is nice.
There was none for me.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe there was one
uh,
who I was attracted to, but I never felt like I would have sex
yeah,
with him,
got it.
regardless.
Or a
So
relationship, just a relationship potentially.
no, but
No.
there were some girls who had a relationship secretly. So that's true also that even in Hungary, regardless that there were rules, there was one guy, he was very, very handsome. And
Hmm.
somehow he had relationship with not only one, but like after one, they broke up, and then there was another one. So secretly he could get some hostesses. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was not
I
I
understood.
was not. No, I
So
was not.
we have some comments
Yeah,
from our
Bolalang.
wonderful Bulelang, our
Oh.
regular. A pleasure listening to you, Marianna.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
And you just have to be good at flirting without committing. And you made
Yes,
that comment
early on.
about a skill set.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
have.
there were
Go ahead.
sorry, just to like the comment, like what kind of things you can do good, or what is the key or the secret. It's very difficult to tell because some I had many clients who just, or customers who just loved singing together, and they didn't really have romantic feelings for me, or that some of them had fallen in love with someone else, but they needed some emotional support and wanted to figure out themselves. So
Uh-huh.
I was the second favorite. So when the other
Therapist.
person was not there,
Yeah.
then they could talk to me, and they were like explaining to me what they're
Mm.
going on. And
Yeah.
that was interesting because I was not really there as like they fall in love with me, but they were like trying to figure out why this place is and what is this about and their
Yeah.
feelings.
It
So
sounds
that
like
was also interesting.
you were practicing to become a therapist, like Bambo says. This is basically just
Yeah,
therapy.
I think a lot of things that I did there was actually psychology,
Yeah.
and with those customers, I still have good relationship and
You still have contact with them.
a mutual respect. Sometimes, I mean,
Yeah.
when I went to Japan, then I emailed everyone, and then I met them, and it was amazing to see them all, and there was a mutual respect, and yeah, that was
Mm.
wonderful.
Like, what kind of men, if you would are you able to profile the kind of man that goes to this place? Because would it be the same kind of man that would, for example, go to a prostitute? Or
No.
were these
Mm-mm.
men more elite, wealthy? Like, how would we
Yeah, so it really depends. It was really because that look, so these karaoke places are also the place for business. So a lot of
Mhm.
people just Japanese like people who work in the same place, they just go there with the company and they're just having fun. So there
Mm.
were customers who didn't really care about the hostesses much. They just wanted a good company. So they chose their hostesses also based on how entertaining they are and who is good singer, or So based on that. But then there were usually the younger generation, or the ones who maybe were still single, or the ones who were younger, but sometimes also married. So depends. But there were some of them who were also secretly looking for some kind of emotional entanglement, let's say.
Mm.
But it was not always the case. So many customers there were looking for singing, for instance. Some of them came alone, but the whole night they were just singing and practicing the songs together with me or another hostess.
I love that.
So
And they didn't, it was not love for them,
Yeah. You said,
So
sorry, I just have a logistics question. How much in the Hungary was it per hour? Just to estimate again, not just. Are we talking 100 euros, 200 euros, 300 euros? What ballpark are we in?
It's about 400.
400 euros an hour. So if they're 3 hours with you, it's 1,200 for that evening.
Plus VAT.
That's okay. I don't, just the general numbers.
I don't
Yeah.
remember anymore, but I can calculate it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You don't need to get direct. I'm just looking for a general feel for it. And
have you ever been to one of these places?
No. Okay. Not the one she's describing. There's never two doors between me and wherever I'm trying to get to. The next thing is what's you can consume alcohol as well. So what's the idea, and how much do you consume? Because I mean, in some ways, you got to moderate yourself if this is your job. So
sorry, by the way, I think it's much cheaper than I'm describing.
Okay.
The entrance, it was not 400. It was 40 or 50 euro per hour. Something
40
like
or 50
euro.
50
euro per hour.
And does that include you in that, like the host, the hostess, or?
No, that was just the drinks, I think.
Okay.
But if you don't request, then you still get a hostess, but then it's a random girl.
It's a random girl. Got it. Okay.
But you still get a hostess regardless, yeah.
Regardless, you always have a hostess. Okay.
And the hostess still gets paid?
The hostess still gets paid, but less. So there was an hourly base salary, which we got even if we were just in the waiting room.
Okay. Oh, so you won't even be visible unless they pick you from one of these pictures.
Yeah, or unless they see us at another table.
Has it ever happened to you that you are in the back the whole night, you haven't been picked?
Yeah, of course.
And how did that feel?
Ooh, that felt very heavy. Depends, because when in the beginning of, but I think it also depends. Like if for instance, it can happen that a customer already chosen, I was the favorite, and at one point they get mad, or at one point they fall in love with someone else, and then you get replaced. And when that happens and nobody requested you because everyone expected that other guy will, and then eventually they don't, and you end up in the waiting room alone, everyone else is working. That's not nice. That's not nice.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
And you can't go on the stage and just do karaoke then?
No. I've got an interesting one. I've been dying to ask this question. You've got a relationship with one man who comes in regularly. Now somebody else asked to be with you, and then the person who's come to be with you can't because you're with somebody else. How is that dynamic?
So yeah, it is difficult because in Hungary, then they had to wait until until the other customer went home. So therefore, sometimes what happens is that then the customer who is waiting, they may request another hostess who is my best friend. So they still want to know me more. So they will request my best friend and talking about me.
Talk about stalking.
Yeah.
But that's something. So waiting was one thing.
Yeah.
But in Japan, it's a very interesting system because in Japan, it's possible that a hostess is being requested from many different customers, And then I get the same extra salary, but for 15 minutes I sit in this table, and for the other 15 his table, and the other 15. So I'm rotating between all of them, and they still have to pay the same amount of money for that.
Wow.
Yeah, that was very interesting. That was only happening in Japan. Yeah.
Was that uncomfortable because someone's paying to be with you? Like, sorry, it's 50. Your time's up. I've got to go to the other one now. Is that like, was that uncomfortable at all?
Were you
It
good with
was-
timing? Because
Look at, she is blushing now.
were you good with timing? Because I know that you're not very time conscious.
There is the mama-san or
Yeah.
the boss,
The
and
boss.
then they come to the table and they say, "I'm sorry, but she has to go."
Oh, okay.
So
But
then I have to
did she
politely.
track? Did she track that, or did you have to track that? Would Mama-san say,
No,
"Oh,
no. They tracked it for me. So
oh, nice.
I didn't have to think about it. Yeah.
That's good."
So that's a good thing that I didn't have to. But
By the
yeah,
way,
in Japan it was weird.
we've only got 10 minutes left, Babos. I can talk another hour on the subject. I don't know where you are right now.
Yeah, like I'm curious now because I know you also as a singer. So when you left, like, did you get into singing when you left this world and you had like a gap? You're like, oh wow, I miss singing, or like how did that happen?
No, I was well, there was a moment when I quit there for a year or something because it was too much.
In
And I
Hungary?
was yeah, in Hungary. And I
Okay.
also yeah, I was a bit heartbroken because, yeah, by the way, there were waiters around. So there were the customers and there were the waiters. Now, the waiters were Hungarian guys, usually good looking. So most of the hostesses were like hating the Japanese customers, but had a little fling or some crush on one
Yeah.
of the waiters. So that happened with me too. So then I was like, okay, I had to just refresh myself because I was a bit heartbroken from that. And I just stopped working there completely, and I thought I won't go back anymore. But then, and then when I stopped for that year, then I started to just look for a singing teacher. I went to classes, and then I started to basically I started to work with someone, a musician, and that's where the picture is coming from. I saw that there was a picture on the event. And yeah, my first performance was with that musician around that time.
That's nice.
So I
And did
started
you
singing in between. And
did you finish your education while you were doing the karaoke work?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what precipitated you then going to Japan?
Yeah, so the thing was that I stopped the university and then I tried to look for a normal job, not the karaoke world anymore. But that just didn't come along. And then that time I was still working in the Hungarian club, and then there was another hostess who was in Japan.
Okay.
And she knew us and she knew me, and she just sent me a message like, "Hey, do you think that anyone in your current from your current colleagues want to come to Japan? Because there is some karaoke bars here too." And I said, "Well, I want to go." And then I also asked several girls, and two of them wanted to come. So then we went. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Three of us.
I've noticed we haven't spoken about Amstelveen.
I know. I kind of I know why I haven't asked questions there. I'm wondering if you're the same reason why you haven't.
It's fucking boring.
It's so boring. Like, what are you going to do in Amstelveen? Like, like, can you enlighten us? Was there anything dramatic that happened there? And if not, we'll skip over the subject immediately.
I love
what was interesting is that I was the karaoke owner in Amstelveen, so that was interesting. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Continue.
You were Mama-san.
So, sorry?
You were Mama-san in
yeah, I was the Mama-san. Yeah, so that was interesting because so basically eventually that waiter who I fell in love with became the owner of the Hungarian club.
Okay.
And that time I went back again to work, and then at one point we became a couple. And and then I went to Japan, regardless that we had a relationship, because I still wanted to go. And then when I came back, our relationship didn't really work anymore. But we felt like I found this place in Amstelveen. I found it on the internet that it's possible that there is a business on sale, and
Mm.
and I said, well, I earned some money now in Japan, and you have already a club. Don't you want another one? And from that idea, basically, together we put our savings together, and
Wow.
we bought this bar, karaoke bar in Amstelveen, and
That's
that's how I came
insane.
to Amsterdam.
How do we describe Amstelveen to those? Because we have a lot of viewers
You
who are
know
in
what?
the US.
Amstelveen, I drove there once with Ronnie on the moped. We went out there and there was a shopping mall.
Yeah.
And we walked through the shopping mall and she looked at me and she says, it feels like I'm in Asia. And then I
Yeah.
realized that's where all the Japanese people live. But I only figured that out afterwards.
That's where the club was. That's where the karaoke bar is. Where
In that shopping mall.
I think so.
Is it still there?
The shopping mall's still there, but
It
is
is.
your
It is, but I think like the owner, my ex, he sold it to someone, and I'm
Okay.
not sure that since then it is still there. But I
Okay.
think so. I think so, yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's really an endeavor you took on your shoulders to do that.
Yeah. I was 24
and
when
how old
I
are you
did
now?
that. I'm 32.
32.
I want to know about drugs. Were there drugs around? And if so,
Jesus, Andy.
I need to know all these things, Bambos. These guns.
No.
Were there guns? Did you see guns brought into it?
No guns, no
jacuzzi.
drugs.
Yeah, it was the Yakuza.
Just alcohol.
Okay, the Yakuza didn't come in and have like a whole thing in there or anything?
Oh, Yakuzas are like they are not really cool. Like they usually don't have money, and they are young people with tattoos and doing some
Mm.
crimes, but they usually couldn't afford these kind of places in Japan.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't really meet any of those. But yeah, to be honest, like yeah, again, like the whole thing in Japan, the fact that we went there as tourists and worked there, that was completely illegal.
Sure.
So in that sense, the guy who was doing the how can I say, the whole looking for hostesses and the whole research or trying to find some Hungarian or other Russian girls, he did a very illegal
Of course.
job.
Yeah.
Did you
And these
feel
bars also.
Did you feel welcome in Japan?
In your that's a
workspace?
very long story. I mean, in the workplace,
Yeah.
yes, because it was like a European bar, so all of the hostesses were European, so it was like very welcome. But there were some very difficult people. Even there in the karaoke, I remember there was one customer who just came in order to hurt the hostesses. So he just had this idea that he comes in, he sits down with you, and then he says all the rude things so that he can say that what do you do here? Why are you in this country? You shouldn't be here. You're stupid. You don't even speak Japanese. And that was his thing. So so there was one person from all the other, but
I thought you said Japanese people don't insult you.
Well, I mean, not in public, but specifically, I can't attest to all of them.
This has been like an incredible show for me. Like I
feel like I've gone on a full journey on this show. This has been pretty.
This has been our most viewed or second viewed show this week.
Yeah, it's like this topic. I think sometimes I put a topic out and I have no clue if we're going to get to an hour. I just know I'm curious enough to ask questions. That's what I know. And I still have more questions that I haven't even asked yet, and I can't.
Oh my God! Yeah, I could talk so much about this.
Well, I have a question. A lot of people won't know this, but at bars in Japan, there's a fascinating thing. I assume it still exists. You go into a bar and you buy a bottle of whiskey. Okay. You buy a full bottle of whiskey, and then they put it with your name on it in the bar, and it stays there. So when you come into the bar, they take your bottle of whiskey and they bring it to your table, and you drink your own bottle. You drink your own bottle of whiskey.
So if you don't drink whiskey, then
you drink whiskey, and that's your bottle of whiskey, and then they put it back to when you leave with your name on it. So you have hundreds of bottles of whiskey on the wall with your specific bottle. You say, I want my bottle of whiskey, and they bring it to your table.
They have a system.
They have a system. Buy the bottle. The bottle is $200.
Alphabetical order. I mean,
What'd you say?
How does it work?
Think about it. All these whiskey bottles, they store it there. So
they store it. So you come in, they see you. Oh, Bambos. Oh, here is your bottle. Come sit down, and then they serve the table with your bottle.
I don't drink alcohol. I only drink organic water.
Yes.
Yeah, that was difficult when it was very unusual that someone was not drinking alcohol. But
wow.
Yeah, but so I asked you this before. Maybe you answered and I forgot. But I asked, when you sit down, there is the idea that the customer can drink as much as they want in Hungary. I'm sure they drank their own bottles, I guess, in Japan, or they paid for it. And you could also drink while you were there. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so by the way, I think I didn't even talk about it at all, but there were so many rituals around this that we as hostesses, we had to know everything. Like a lot of rules, like how do we sit down, what is the posture, giving that towel, the oshibori, to the customers, how is that show whenever I give something or get something, it's with 2 hands. 2 hands.
How do I prepare the whiskey with the water, how much water, how much whiskey, how much ice, everything. Like there were lots of rules about this. And I think a lot of the success of hostesses was also about that. Like if you were very good with these rules, then the customers really appreciated that. There I could talk so much about this.
But would you mix drinks for yourself as well when you were with a customer, or how would that go?
Yeah, in Japan, it was more like I could order my own and then they had to pay for it, whatever I ordered. But if it was champagne or wine, then I drank together with them, and that's what costs extra money. And I got extra money if in Japan, I got extra money if they ordered the wine or champagne.
Yeah.
But then I also had to drink it, because the more I drank it, the more they order, and that was really not good.
Yeah, that was the question I had. Like, are you consuming a lot of alcohol every evening when you're working?
Yeah, I did, but also not just because I had to be honest, because it was possible to skip it. Also in Japan, it was possible to act like that I drink alcohol, but actually the drink that is prepared for me is non-alcoholic, so it was possible to do that. And it was also possible to do some little tricks and tips how to get the champagne glass out and like act like I already drunk it. But in Hungary, I didn't have to drink alcohol if I didn't want to.
Oh, wow.
But it was just like most of the time, it was hard to be entertaining without having some kind of alcohol in your system. So it's also part of the thing.
I have the same trouble.
So, Marianna's parents, are you proud of her?
Yes. I am so grateful that you came on.
Yes.
I am so grateful. I have to tell you, like, it's shows like these that I'm scared. I'm scared before we start, because I'm like, we've got an hour. She might say, yeah, it was nice. And then I'm like, oh God, this wasn't half as interesting as I thought it was going to be. So I don't know if we're going to have a really fun talk, but this was the coolest.
And yet,
yes,
if you were boring, we'd probably make something up.
Oh, we would, of course.
Yeah, for sure. I know that.
Byron Emerson, I don't know if you know him. He says, Marianna, you're awesome.
Ka-chang.
Yeah, I know him. Byron is also awesome.
And Bulalang says we do that in South Africa too with whiskey and
they buy the bottles and they store them for the clients, so when they come back.
Thank you. Sweet. We've come to the end of our show.
It's so great to be with you. I love your rosy cheeks. I'm happy that we could get your blood circulating through the stupid questions we asked.
Talk about yourself, Mr. Shalef.
Bola Language says he's really surprised you, Bambo. Someone pretending to drink alcohol while drinking something else. That was a surprise. Yes, it was a surprise for me as well, actually. Cranberry juice does a good job of that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. There were some fake non-alcoholic things that
Yeah.
we said it's alcohol, but it was not. Yeah.
So I'm gonna see you tomorrow afternoon at the organic market, right?
Look at her. Look at her.
I'm just kidding.
She's gone. Her eyes have gone fuzzy. So we will see you next time. We'll find another idea for a show. Just tell me something else random you've done in your life.
We can do
Okay.
couple therapy.
Yeah.
Talk about
I have
difficult
plenty of
couples.
exciting topics, but I cannot assure you that it's going to be more exciting than this. But
We'll make it exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Adios,
It was
Marianna.
good to be with
Okay.
you. Bye. Oh, Vamos, that was so much fun.
Our first week back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a Friday. It's so nice to have such different topics on, you know? Like we go in so many different directions, and
It's a wonderful chaos.
and it's so wonderful. I love taking risks and seeing how well they work out. Monday, we've got a great show.
Do you know the shows?
Well, I'm only going to discuss Monday because that's the most important. Monday, we are going to review the film Being There. It is one of the greatest films ever made as far as I'm concerned. Hal Ashby directed it. For that episode, I have taken 6 clips. I've already done the work. I've edited the movie down, and we're going to discuss 6 clips from the movie. And the reason why I took the 6 clips is because what I've seen is almost all of our shows have had overtures around discussing those 6 items. And so what I wanted to do is show how the movie was made in 1979.
It's Peter Sellers, right?
Peter Sellers' last film before he died. And what I wanted to show is why this movie, and what fascinates me now is as a kid, this movie had a profound impact on me. And now I'm looking at it thinking, wow, what was it that I understood then that I couldn't articulate?
Wow.
Because I'm 9 years old. I might not have seen it, and I saw it pretty soon. But there was something about this movie that stuck with me my entire life. And then in going back and watching it the last day and editing these sequences out that I wanted us to discuss on the show and show how they're related to all the shows we've done, there was like all of these epiphanies, like, wow, the director, Hal Ashby, I believe is the name of that director, he had such an understanding for something that was so nuanced that he was way ahead of his time. And basically, if you look at it, I saw an article that was recently read that if you look at Being There and look at the presidency of Donald Trump, then you'll understand that the prediction was done in 1979 that this would happen.
Wow.
And it was even said, he said at that time, this will happen in US politics, and we see what happened. So we're going to discuss Being There. We probably will not be able to put that show on YouTube afterwards because we'll have copyright violations, because although we're discussing it, we'll be showing clips from it. So you have to watch it live if you really want to see this. Unfortunately, we won't be able to publish it afterwards.
But we will be able to, I mean, we're going to edit it, right?
Yeah.
So it will be a podcast.
Yeah, it will be a podcast. But if you want to see it, you really got to watch it because it'll be the only one that has the edited clips from the show, which is just, I've never prepared this much for a show, but I enjoy it that much. I've done it.
And this is what I said, guys, in the beginning of the show. Marketing.
What do you mean by marketing?
Create scarcity.
Oh, yes. Nice. Create scarcity. And we only have a few more shows left, Bambo, so they got to be with us.
And Andy, we're going to do that on.
I love how we have that tagline. We're going to do that on, Bambos. We'll play a competition. Who's going to have who say it? A wonderful chaos.